everybody, I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at a powerhouse game. You know, when those movies come out and they, like, starring all these people, Oscar-winning this person. That's what this is, because it's Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. It's Antoine Bauza and Bruno Catala, very well-known designers. Artist Vincent Dutray. They pulled out the big guns there. And then on the back, they want to make it clear it's based on Seven Wonders Duel.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right, so they're making it. This is like they put everything into this game, and it's also one of the biggest licenses in the world, Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely, yes.
All this made me distrust the game.
You were worried, let's say.
Not worried. I was just like, I like Seven Wonders Duel.
Why do we have to do this again?
Yeah, I didn't feel like the game needed something else.
And I think that's the big question, which obviously we'll answer here in a little bit, is this Seven Wonders Duel? You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, that's the question. They're like, is it just Seven Wonders Duel with Lord of the Rings theme? I'm not going to answer that yet. You got to stick around.
Let's talk about how to play the game. There are 3 ways to win this game. If you have cards in front of you with different alliances, for example, this is the dwarfs, and you have 6 different symbols, you will immediately win. The Fellowship is going to be racing down using this track to move down this board, while the Sauron player is using this person, the Nazgul, to chase them. And if the Nazgul catch them, then that player wins. Otherwise, if they throw the ring into Mount Doom, then the Fellowship player will win. Then the third way to win is you start with some troops on the board, but you're going to have troops that you'll either place and sometimes move on the board. If you move into the same spot where somebody else is, you kind of eliminate 1 for 1. And if you ever have a spot on the board anywhere, even if it's a tower, towers can coexist with enemy troops. If you have 1 in every spot, you win. This is also the de facto way to end the game, because if the game ends at the end of the third act and there's no clear winner, whoever controls more spaces here will win. There are 3 chapters in the game, and in each chapter you're going to shuffle the deck that comes along with that chapter, and you're going to place some cards face up and some face down in a specific pattern. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. This is Chapter 1, for example. Then starting with the bad guy and taking turns back and forth, players are going to take a card as long as there's no cards above it. So I can take this card. If this card's taken, this is revealed, and now is available to be taken by a player. When you take a card, you can always discard it to get coins equal to whatever the chapter is. So 1 coin in the first chapter. Or you can play the card. Some cards are free. This one, for example, just gives 2 coins. Other cards have a cost. This one costs 1 coin. Some will cost a resource. If you don't have that resource, like this one is knowledge. This card here, for example, gives you 1 knowledge. You don't need to pay it. You just need to have the card. And if you don't have it, you can pay a coin. Some cards have a symbol at the top, and later on, if you find that exact same symbol on another card, you'll be able to play that card for free. So, for example, if I have this card, later on, this card here, I would need to pay these 3 resources, or have these 3 resources. But if I have this card here, if I have 1 elf, it's easy to convince another elf to join. Ring cards are easy. Whoever takes them is going to move either the slide or move the rider. Sometimes you'll hit different spots in here, which will give you a coin, take another turn, put somebody on the map. War cards are going to let you put troops on the map. Usually, they'll give you 2 different spots that says I can put them in Lindon or I can put them in Rohan. And if I have troops, let's say I put both in Rohan, one I would put here, which would cancel this troop, and then the other one would go like that. In Chapter 3, there's going to be cards that just do whatever, like this gives you movement on the board, makes your opponent lose some things. Like I said, there's money. And then you are also trying to get these alliances. Now, if you ever get 2 of the same alliance, and there only is 2 of each one, or once per game, if you get 3 different alliances, you're going to be able to draw tokens. These tokens, you'll flip them over, and you get to do the top one. Like, for example, the wizard one here is going to allow me to move twice in the ring track. Early on in the game, sometimes these tokens can do pretty potent things. This one, for example, is an extra symbol. So instead of needing 6 symbols up here, I only need 5 because this will count as the 6th. Some give special abilities, like this one says whenever I use a card to put troops on the board, I get an extra one. This one here says whenever I play a yellow card, I also move the ring. Whenever I do a blue card, I get a troop. And so If you have 3 different factions, once per game, you can flip the top token of each and pick one. And if you get 2 of the same, you flip the top 2 tokens and pick one of those. There's also landmarks next to the board. There will always be 3 at the beginning of each chapter. And these, you can see, have some considerable costs to them. And they even cost a coin for each tower you've already built. These are going to let you put a tower on the board in a specific spot. And I already mentioned how a tower is pretty handy because a tower lets you be in a spot permanently. Your opponent can't rout you from it unless they have a card that lets them destroy a tower. But they will also give you other special benefits and bonuses. This gives you 2 moves. This lets you put 3 troops in that spot. This one lets you move the ring twice. And so a player can, instead of taking a card, they can take one of these. And that's it. You're going to go back and forth taking cards, finishing one chapter and going to the next until someone wins through one of the 3 ways, or we get to the end of the game and see who controls more spots on the board. So in many ways, this is Seven Wonders Duel 1.5.
I suppose I would push it a little more than that. It feels more different to me than that, I guess.
I can see why.
I was afraid to say 2.0. It feels too much.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
I get that.
It sits in an odd place. The card draft, the pyramid, drafting thing is the exact same.
That's the same, yeah.
The colors pretty much are a 1-to-1, right? There's no victory points. The blue cards are now just move on the ring track, which is, it's a race, but it's basically collect X number of points, right? Mm-hmm. So that's different. I can see why on the surface it's very easy to look at and say, same game. I think that the changes in here are really nice and really welcome for me, though.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There's no points. So they got rid of points completely and replaced it with the board, an area control game, which is also the tiebreaker at the end.
Right.
Which hasn't happened to me yet. Has it happened to you yet where you got to the tiebreaker?
No, I think you'd have to be chucking a lot of cards to not hit one of the 3 endgame conditions, basically.
Right. I think so.
Yeah, I was talking to Asmodee, and they said that the board is 40% of wins, and then the other 2 are 30%. And you're like, well, why isn't it balanced? But it is balanced because those other 2 keep you from wanting to, you're like, I'll just do the board. Then you might lose one of the other 2 ways.
Correct. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what... So there's 2 things that really just astounded me about this game. One is just how balanced it is. I'm sitting there going, I'm not worried about the Nazgul chasing me until they're 4 spaces away. And you go, they could catch me.
There's a lot of tension, right? And it's sort of these spinning plates keep you on edge.
And they also have things. Moving on that track gives you some benefits.
Yep.
Some good benefits later on. An extra turn, killing a tower. But also the other thing for me are those tokens that you get from getting 2 of the same people or
So
3
good.
different ones.
Yeah.
Those tokens feel game breaking. I can put out an extra guy every time I play a red card. My daughter got one the other night. It was like every time she took a yellow card, get another turn. That's
insane.
that's like free money. I'll take that yellow card and go again.
Yeah.
I love that.
And because of the tempo, because you're sitting there predicting, okay, well, if I take this card, then you're stuck taking this one, so I'll get that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you throw an ability like that changes that tempo, and it will really mess up your opponent.
Right. Yeah, I think all the different parts, the chase, the map, those tokens and those abilities, I think they come together to make a game that feels bigger than Seven Wonders Duel. This game, I think, whether that's an illusion because the Lord of the Rings license is there and we associate that with an epic scale, but this game feels bigger than that game did.
Do you feel like the board, do you feel like it kind of simulates a war well enough?
It's very abstracted, but it simulates a war in that sort of like war table feel. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where you're looking at this and people are pushing around little armies.
Yeah.
It simulates it in that way, you know?
Yeah.
And I love the simplicity. Like, I love that the few things that did change here, they seemed like they went, the designers, for the simplest answer possible. I like that. One army kills one army. It's 1 for 1. Perfect. You don't have to explain it ever again. The money in the game is way simpler than in Seven Wonders Duel. Everything you're missing is 1 coin. That's it. Taking a money card, you just get whatever it says. That's it. I think it's simpler that way.
I also think the theme works for the game. Mm-hmm. From everything from that track, anyone who's seen that track they lose their mind almost a little bit. It's like my daughters aren't even big fans of the Lord of the Rings, and they're like, "This track is amazing." It is. I mean, yes, you could have two people moving down the same track, and it would be almost the same thing.
Right.
But having them chase, that works well. It also makes sense thematically. If I have this card, if I have, maybe Bilbo, it's easier for me to get Gollum because they like each other. And those are minor things. The artwork is amazing. It's not based on the movies. It's based on the books.
Yes, right.
And then the little war out there. I don't know. I mean, it's still abstracted. There's a lot of abstraction. Sure. I think the theme works.
I think the chase is probably the most direct, like, oh my gosh, the Nazgul's going to get him, right? I love the war board because of what you said, Zee. It's the simplest. It's not grandiose, but it still is. When someone has 6 of the 7 territories, you're sweating.
Right.
That really matters. And so I think that it's neat, too, that at first, in the Era 1, Era 2, you might say, these are just spots. And then in the third era, they introduce those movement cards, and that's when it feels like a board. It feels like a war game board in its simplest form. And I like that.
I'm not sure it's possible to win the game before third era. I was thinking about that the other day with the movement and stuff. I mean, it might be some out of the way.
I mean, if I can let you win, I assume. You know what I mean? But I
But the game is almost engineered for a white-knuckled, hold your breath ending.
I agree.
And I'm fine with that because you work to that point.
I think my one little negative here is that I thought some of the cards, the symbology is a little busy because they're simulating quite a few things. You know what I mean? And it's like, put a tower here and then take this many dudes and move them from there to there. Some of the places are a little, some of the symbology, I guess, is a little more heavy, a little busier than anything that was in Seven Wonders Duel.
I agree. The reference sheet in here you definitely need.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, I think that means this. I wasn't always quite sure. There's one, for example, that says whenever you use a card that gives you another card for free, whenever you take that free card, you get something. And that symbol, I mean, how do you symbolize that? It's hard.
Right.
Yeah. I think that some of just like reading it is maybe my only little complaints there. I wonder if some people are going to dislike the fact that it does feel, as you say, engineered so that it always comes down to the third era. I don't dislike that. I don't know how many games of Seven Wonders Duel really get, determined in the second era either. But,
probably not.
But this one feels a little bit more I'll tell you what it does for me, though, is that I know, the Wizard cards don't really come out until the third era. I know that. I'm not going to get the Wizard Alliance token. Because, and maybe it is that way in the original Seven Wonders Duel, but I don't know what era the different symbols come out, like the different science symbols. Sure. Because in this game, I know when Saruman and Gandalf come out. Because they're recognizable to me instead of just like math.
So the theme is helpful then.
The theme is helpful. It helps me kind of integrate some of those ideas a little bit better. And so, some of the symbology a little bit busy or whatever, but I think even with that, I still end up remembering more stuff kind of more easily because I care a little bit about the theme. I care about that more.
And they managed to make what was economic in the original game. Those symbols represented building materials, papyrus and glass and brick and steel and whatever. They made those things abstracted necessities for combat and war and progress, right? So they're like, military strength and cunning and whatever. Like they name those symbols something, and anything you're missing, you make up with money. Like you can pay to progress. You pay mercenaries. You sort of abstract that. But I like that they were able to, because it's tricky. It's like, in Lord of the Rings, why are we making resources and paying for things? Well, that's what it represents. Yep. It's abstracted quite a bit. The game is abstracted. It also manages to feel epic for the box size.
What would you give it?
Score-wise, I enjoy Seven Wonders Duel a lot. I think that's pretty much an excellent game. This one is a step up for me in a lot of ways. So this one's a 9 from me. I think that those Alliance tokens are so much stronger than the Science tokens from the original game. I'm sure I'm stealing that point out from underneath you guys, right? But like those to me are the biggest improvement in this game. I love the war board. I love the chasing the path. The fact that you're not doing victory points. Everything is scaled down. Like you still talked about money.
Yeah.
Instead of dealing with cards that are 3 to 7 victory points when you take them. It's just move 1 or 2 steps on the ring track, right? All of those things are great, but I think that those progress tokens or the alliance tokens are so powerful that they make me sweat far more in this game than watching someone take one of those in the original. And I love that. I think that's a huge improvement for this. This is a 9. Beautiful, fun, quick.
I'm close. I'm an 8.5. I really, really like this game. It's fantastic. It replaces. I'll never play Seven Wonders Duel again. Even though I love history, I like this game better. The tokens you mentioned. I also like the little fortress tower, whatever those things are called, that you get. They're cool if you can pull off the resources. This game pushes. If you want to do a resource-heavy game, you can be so strong in the end game. My daughter did that where she played. She just got resources in round 1. And in round 3, she just bought anything she wanted, and it was that's a pretty impressive thing. I like the tension between the 3 different things. It's nice to have 3 different ways to win. I'm always a big fan of that. I really like it.
I love it. I mean, I'm giving it a 9.5. I think it is. It feels balanced on a razor's edge. I don't know if it is or not, but it feels that way. The whole thing is thematic. You're sweating the entire game. Every move matters. It has that feeling of every move matters. It might not matter right now, or it might seem like it doesn't. You watch Third Age, see what happens. You know, you were going to be that one thing short, that one coin short. I love that feeling, even if it's bad for me. I love coming to the Third Age and being like, I need to buy that. I'm 1 military strength short. Ooh, how do I weasel my way out of this situation I'm in? I love that tension from the 3 separate things. The entire thing it's really neat, and they've had obviously iterations here to innovate upon, and I'm glad. I don't think it feels as much like Seven Wonders Duel as maybe other people will. I do notice the differences more than the similarities, I'm happy to play both. I think this out of the box, there's much more gameplay there than original Seven Wonders Duel out of that box. So it has 2 expansions, but discounting them, there's so much more going on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, 9.5.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. Check it out. It's available everywhere, actually. So anyway, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
You shall not pass. That doesn't work.